Hi, everyone, and welcome to my final presentation for my Masters of Education program titled Solving Social Problems Through Education. My name is Martha Wolf, and I am happy to share with you my experience in the Masters of Education program and how it brought me here tonight to know that I know nothing at all. Let's review how I got here. In 2003, I graduated from the University of Guelph with a general Bachelor of Arts. I graduated early because I wanted to get married. And why not? I was 22 years old and getting married just seemed like the right thing to do. I continued to do my honors level education over the next few years and worked my way into a career helping people with finding work. I had my baby, Natalie, in 2008. That makes her 12 years old now. And throughout my beginnings of my career, I continued to pursue various levels of education. I completed a human resource management diploma at the University of Guelph and thought about maybe even starting to work in the field of human resources, but found the elements that I liked most about that program were the training and education sections. In 2010, I started with the Region of Waterloo as an Ontario Works caseworker. And in that position, I started with 8 weeks of training on legislation, technology, and service philosophy as it relates to providing Ontario Works support to the most vulnerable members of our community. I found that learning experience to be wildly uncomfortable. It was the first time that as an adult I had to enter a classroom knowing nothing at all and figure out how to do something that felt very far outside my comfort zone. But I quickly adapted, and by 2012, I was working as a trainer facilitator, providing that same 8 week training to new hires at the region of Waterloo. There's a bit of a pattern you'll notice that every time I start something, I feel like, this is cool. I like what I'm doing, but I have an overarching feeling of imposter syndrome. So I go and get a credential to make myself feel better. So in 2014, I started the Adult Bachelor of Education program from Brock University. The very first day of class was also the day that I got dumped super hard, and that was the end of my 12-year marriage. School for me became a refuge and a place where I could be something other than a newly single mother, where everything else in my life was unknown and, to be honest, fairly heartbreaking. In school and in work, I could find success, and people didn't have to know what was going on in my personal life. I continued to throw myself into my schooling and into my career as a source of distraction, and between the years of 2018 and 2021 at the region of Waterloo, I had positions such as supervisor of quality assurance, supervisor of child care subsidy, integrated services supervisor, and supervisor of the employment programs. This is all while also deciding that I should probably get a master's in education. And I'm happy to say that in 2021, I'll actually be getting remarried again because why not? It's still a good idea. This time's going to be better. Now, let's take a moment to consider my approach to school in general. This is a photo of Natalie and I on a roller coaster. This was the moment we completed all the roller coasters at Canada's Wonderland. And this is exactly how I approach school. I understand that by signing up for a program and a course, I am getting on the ride and that I will be locked in for the duration. There are some absolutely terrifying moments. I sweat a lot. I feel sick. I scream sometimes. And at the end, I'm shaky and thrilled, and I don't exactly know what has happened. So while all the rest of my smart peers, I'm looking at all of you, are quoting their favorite theories and theorists and authors, I'm still wondering what happened and hoping that I absorbed something. Here I am at the age of 12. I don't know if I've shared with you guys, but I am an identical twin. That is my sister Kate and myself, sporting amazing mushroom cuts and before the benefit of dental care. I have placed this picture here for your review, as it is what I would consider to be, an embarrassing and cringeworthy picture. And when I was reading my PPKs, I found that to also be a little bit embarrassing and cringeworthy. In our first master's course, we were asked to reflect on our calling, and here's what I said. My calling is to create a safe space for learning where everyone has the opportunity to reach their full potential. Ideally, I would like to be able to do this while allowing individuals to maintain their dignity and build their self confidence. While I agree with this statement, it doesn't reflect my feelings today. It seems I was drawn to develop and deepen my understanding of education with a goal of saving learners from the discomfort, shame, embarrassment, frustration, and failure that I had sometimes experienced. I referred to times when learning had not gone well for me and expressed my desire to elevate my skills so that I would do better than the systems, materials, and educators who had failed me in the past. What the heck? The amount of time that I spent struggling in a school environment was minimal. The moments of failure stand out to me because there were only a few. My motivation to save people from these feelings and experiences is out of proportion with the frequency and intensity of my own experience. Even in writing the PPKs, I was still striving to get the right answer and to answer the question in a way that was meaningful to others, my classmates, the instructors, the self that I wished I was. When it comes to school and work, I often assume everyone understands something that I don't. So my brain kicks into overdrive, racing down all the potential roads and testing them out and committing to one based on the verbal and nonverbal cues I get from others. This is what I've relied on for many years. Why have I been able to be successful? Because the verbal cues have been most often in unaccented English, using phrases I am familiar with and referencing cultural experiences that I share. Because I had two parents who provided a stable home life and supported me to be successful while not pressuring me to overachieve. Because I had peers who came from homes with similar supports. Because I did not experience serious mental or physical traumas. The odds were in my favor by accident of birth. I think that on some level, my motivation to enter this program was to keep playing a game that I have been winning my whole life, so that I could continue to imagine that my worth, my value, and my potential could be measured in degrees, grades, and academic accomplishments. Accomplishments that lead to opportunities in organizations with similar structures, systems, rules, and rewards. My motivation, it would seem, would be to help others succeed in systems which have been available to me with opportunities that I imagined were accessible to everyone. What I've learned through this course is that the systems are not accessible to everyone in the same way. This mind map shows you a little bit about what my thoughts are on how I have taken this program and the content within it. You'll see there are branches that focus on some of the things we've already reviewed: imposter syndrome, extrinsic sources of validation, and what education has meant to me personally when it comes to job opportunities. The Masters of Education program has also, though, provided me with some essential fundamentals around academic writing and evidence based decision making through critical evaluation of qualitative and quantitative research. Some of the key things that I have drawn out of this program is through my research into how education savings may or may not help an individual to consider a student or college going identity where one otherwise might not have existed. But I also spent a little bit of time considering the decolonization of education through Marie Baptiste and culturally responsive pedagogy and the teachings of Paulo Freire when it comes to the systemic oppression and the theories and supports that are available to help us reevaluate the systems that do benefit some more than others. So we're at that point where I get to once again acknowledge that at the end of this amazing and prestigious program, I know now more than ever how much I don't know. I cannot believe that at this point in my life, in my career, I am just now feeling like my eyes are opening to the different ways that our systems are not set up to support people to the best possible success that they could achieve. I feel still grateful that I have a seat at a table and that I have a new critical perspective for policy, communication, education, and that I can be a voice of change. So, in my what, my big takeaway is privilege. Those who have it, those who don't, and what we're going to do about it. My so what is systematic oppression. All systems, education, healthcare, social service, are rife with opportunity for systematic oppression, and individuals who have a seat at the table have the responsibility and obligation to speak up and out and to start making changes. And my now what is, of course, to change the world, because that's what we were meant to do. Now, it's super inspiring to end on a note like we are now prepared to change the world. And I do believe that we can do it. But I don't mean in a grand fashion in a short period of time. I mean, we all are now skilled and prepared to nudge the winds of change forward in the directions that we know will be valuable to the next generations. I am reflecting a little bit on my favorite commencement speech by David Foster Wallace in 2005, which I shared portions of in a previous course. In this speech, he starts by telling a story of a fish swimming by one another. There's an old fish who's swimming by two young fish, and he says to them, "How's the water today, boys?" And the two young fish look at each other and say, "What is water?" In his speech, he's attempting to impart on graduates the importance of choosing how to think. He encourages them to challenge the natural default settings that exist in all of us and prompt us to constantly believe that we are the center of the universe. He points out that the most obvious and important realities are often the hardest to see and talk about. Foster concludes his speech by suggesting the real value of a real education has almost nothing to do with knowledge and everything to do with simple awareness. Awareness of what is so real and essential, so hidden in plain sight all around us, all of the time, that we have to keep reminding ourselves over and over. This is water. This is water. It is unimaginably hard to do this, to stay conscious and alive in the adult world day in and day out, which means another grand cliche turns out to be true. Your education really is the job of a lifetime, and it commences now. I wish you way more than luck.